you guys, it's Stacy here, and I have a thrift store book haul for you. So I went to Half Price Books and I went crazy. I got so many books. I have a huge pile, which I can't even lift all the way up. So I'm going to show you what I got, and we'll go from there. So if you watched my last video, I had this whole spiel about, not worrying if you are not a fast reader and if you don't read a whole bunch of books in the month, to do what you can. And I talked also about how I'm trying to improve my reading speed. And so when I looked on YouTube, one of the things that I seen over and over again was reading books with larger print and that are easier to read. And so I went to the thrift store and I bought me a bunch of middle grade books. So I'm going to show you some of those. So I already talked about Ramona the Pest. So I read this already. It was in my July books that I've read. And yes, I actually got through this relatively fast, which shows that there is some truth in that. Like if you have larger font, you definitely can get through it a lot faster, and it motivates you to try to read even faster and faster. And so I got that. I also, going along the same, I got Babysitter's Club. So this is the first book in the Babysitter's Club series. I actually did not read the Babysitter's Club when I was younger, but my sister did. And so I was going to try it out and see if I like it, and if so, then I'll try to get the other ones, because it gives me something to read, to practice my speed reading on. So I got that. I also got The Little House in the Big Woods. So this is based off the Little House of Prairie books. I did read one of these books as a kid. I don't remember it, but I used to watch the show. And it's the font size is similar to, these other two books. And so I decided to get the first book in the series and just see if I enjoy it. So that way I have, some series to read to practice my reading speed. To go along with that, I did get some more Ramona books. This was on clearance for $1, which is why I got it. Ramona and Her Father. Actually, I already have this book. I didn't know I had it. But, it was $1, and the illustrations are newer. And so I'm going to probably read this one instead of the old one that I have. And then I have Beezus and Ramona. This is the first story in the series, or I don't even know if you call these a series, because I don't know if they really build up on each other or not. But this is supposed to be the first book. And this was, again, Half Price Books, very, very cheap, just $3 for that. So those were the books that I got to practice my reading speed. Okay. I also have some other books that I have some of my old books from when I was a child. I don't have all of them, but I kept some, the ones I really liked. And so I probably would use some of those this coming month to practice my reading speed. But then I got some other books. So this one was also on clearance at the Half Price Books. When God Doesn't Make Sense by Dr. James Dobson. I am very much looking forward to reading this book. I don't know if I'm getting to it this month or not, because I'm reading another book right now. But God makes sense to me, but there are times where I'm like, okay, God, why? And I know there's other people who feel the same way. So I'm hoping that I get something from this in order to help others and even myself if I get to a point where I'm like questioning things. I think it's always good to have, prepare your mind before you get to that point where you're asking these questions. I always try to think analytically about the Bible and about Christianity. But I thought that this might be a really good read, especially, before, like I said, before something happens. And then this also was on clearance for $3. It's Spiritual Mothering, the Titus 2 Model, Women Mentoring Women, by Susan Hunt. So I used to disciple two women, and if you ever disciple anyone, you know that it's not always the easiest thing. And so before I disciple again, I have another book on shepherding, and then I had this one. And so it's just nice to see, other examples of how women have discipled other women up. And so I got it because it was $3 and it sounded like a really good read. So those are all of my spiritual books. So I only got 2 spiritual books. And then oh no, I'm wrong. It looked like a textbook. Well, I guess it kind of is a textbook. That's why I didn't see it. It is The Faith of the Early Fathers, Volume 1. So I believe this is from seminary. I'm thinking. I don't know. But I found this. I couldn't find the second one. They only had the first volume. But I was very much interested in this because, a lot of people state that, the early church was the true church. And, if you listen to like the Orthodox Church or the Catholic Church, they refer to the early fathers. We don't really talk about the early church that much in the Protestant, evangelical and, all of those. But there is a lot of great information in the early church. A lot of the doctrinal issues that we tend to have in the evangelical church actually was solved in the early church. And if we just would read the documents from the early church, we probably would not be in a lot of the debates that we are in now. But yeah, so I got this. And along the same lines, I got the early church or early Christian writings. And so this has writings from the Apostolic Fathers. So we all know like the writings in the Bible, and we refer obviously, the epistles to the apostles, but there were other writings, there were other letters that didn't necessarily make it into the Bible, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they don't have any value. They might not be considered Holy Scripture, but they can still provide insight and give us historical context. It can also help us in terms of interpreting the Bible, interpreting different doctrines, and, all that type of stuff. And so there's writings in here from like Ignatius, Clement, we have Polycarp, Barnabas, a whole bunch. I already read some of these because I actually, you can get all of the early church fathers online. And so I read a lot of these already, but now I have a paper copy of some of them. So I'm very excited about this, to have it on hand. I was copying and pasting it into a Word document, but it's just not as convenient as having an actual book. I know a lot of people, they like to use their computer and use like, digital versions, but I find that having a book, like if I have a question, I can easily grab a book and turn to it, as opposed to if it's in my computer, like I have to go into the computer, I have to look for the document, I have to open it, I have to find it in the document. As opposed to a book, I just grab it, turn to the page, it's so much easier. So, yeah. So now that ends all of the Christian books. And then this is where it gets a little bit interesting. Some of you guys might be kind of surprised at some of these books that I picked out. They're not... So these are all nonfiction. And you know how I always say that I am in grad school. So I'm a nerd. Okay, I'm a nerd, and I actually do read books that nerds would read. So this is along those lines. So for those who don't know, I'm a dietitian. I am a sports dietitian and I also do weight management, eating disorders. But I am going to be opening up a performance nutrition practice where it's focused on sports nutrition. Now, obviously, we'll be working on other dietary things as well, but I will be working with a lot of athletes. And so, one of the athlete groups that I know I'll be working with are triathletes. And so, this was on clearance at the Half Price Books, and it just has some information about triathletes. I'm not a triathlete in part because me and swimming don't get along. Like, I like going in the pool, but like to swim, like to compete in swimming, like I don't know, maybe one day in the future, but right now I just can't see myself swimming a long distance. I failed my swimming lessons when I was a kid, if that puts anything into perspective for you. But, you know, because I'll be working with athletes, I need to be familiar with all the different types of athletes. And so this is a very unique population, the triathletes. So I was like, why not? It's just $3. I can gain more insight on this particular group. And maybe one day I might train to be a triathlete, but I don't know. No promises on that. And then this was also on clearance for $3, renal physiology. Yes, I told you I'm a nerd. So as a dietitian, we do have renal patients at times. And the renal system for me, I think it's quite complicated because you're dealing with like electrolytes and proteins and all that. And so I thought this would be a nice book to give me more insight on renal physiology. So whenever I'm working with renal patients, I can help them. And going along the same lines, the next few books you'd probably be like, Stacy, wow, I got the textbook of medical physiology. So this is, I believe, for people who go to medical school. I have entertained the idea of going to medical school and becoming an MD. But I am not convinced yet if that's something I should do because I've already been in school for 15 years. And so I'm trying to convince myself not to. I told you I really like learning, as you can see. So I was like, well, maybe I can learn some of the stuff on my own. I don't necessarily need to become a medical doctor to know the knowledge and be able to apply the knowledge to like my nutrition patients. Obviously, I can't like diagnose people. I can't prescribe medications, but maybe I can have a better understanding of what's going on with them and be able to help them with where they're at. And so I got this book. I also got, these are also medical physiology books. And I got, these are big books, you guys. All-in-one care planning resource guide. And this, I believe, is for nurses and not necessarily for doctors. But it has, like, information, diabetes, for instance. So I can gain, because the nutrition, we focus on the nutrition part. We don't really focus on, like, all the other things, right? And so I just think it will just help me as a dietitian to be a better dietitian. And if I fall in love with it, then that'll be further confirmation that I should try to go to medical school before it gets too late. But like I said, I already been in school a long time. And so I don't want to be in school forever, so I might not do so, but yeah. And then the last book I got was Clinical Exercise Physiology because I like sports nutrition and my minor is in kinesiology and I already have exercise physiology books, but this is Clinical Exercise Physiology, and so it just has a little bit extra stuff in here that's not in my regular exercise physiology books that I have on my shelf right now. So it's just a little bit extra, and again, this was on clearance, which is $3. Of course, a lot of this is outdated, a lot of these clearance books, but you can still gain insight and gain knowledge from them. So that way you can at least have a good base point. So, yeah. got a lot of great finds at the Half Price Bookstore. Most of these books were $1 or $3, with the exception of these two. I paid $8 and $9 for, but these are like gems. These are gems. I definitely want to find more of these because these are actually worth. If you ask me, these are worth way more than that, in my opinion. But yeah, so that's my book haul, my thrift haul, or whatever you want to call it. So if you like my booktube videos, remember, I don't just make booktube videos. I make other videos too. So make sure you check out those videos too. I try to have videos to help you become a better person. So I have, just different topics. So check those out as well and see if there's anything that you like. And if you like this video, you want to see more booktube videos like this, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.